Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The atmosphere aboard the space station Elysium was electric, buzzing with the excitement of Interstellar Fashion Week. Jack Martin maneuvered through the crowd, camera in hand, capturing the whirlwind of colors and fabrics worn by beings from 100 different worlds. As a renowned fashion photographer, his presence at such events was almost mandatory, but today his focus was disrupted by the arrival of an extraordinary figure. "Ever seen anything like her, Jack?" asked Tim, a fellow photographer and old friend, as he nudged Jack gently. Jack turned to see what, or rather, who, had caught Tim's attention. His eyes landed on Leary, an alien supermodel from Eridani, making her way through the venue with an air of effortless grace. Her tall, willowy frame was wrapped in a shimmering gown that seemed to change colors with her movements. "No, she's something else," Jack admitted, raising his camera to capture her image. Leary paused, her gaze meeting Jack's lens with a knowing smile. She approached after he lowered his camera. "Do human devices truly capture the essence of a moment, or just the shadow of it?" she asked, her voice a melodious blend of curiosity and amusement. Jack chuckled, extending a hand. "I guess we try for the essence, but sometimes we settle for the shadow." "I'm Jack Martin, Leary of Eridani," she replied, taking his hand. Her touch was cool and light. "I'm intrigued by your work. We don't really use photos on Eridani. We capture moments in time crystals." "That sounds fascinating," Jack said. "Time crystals, you say? How do they work?" Leary's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "They store memories, emotions, all the senses. But enough about that. Tell me, what brings you to Elysium, besides the fashion?" "I'm always looking for the next great shot," Jack replied. "Fashion Week is unpredictable. You never know what you'll see or who you'll meet." As they talked, another figure approached. Marco, a human designer known for his daring styles that often mixed technology with traditional fabrics, joined them with a smile. "Leary, darling, you were stunning on the runway." And Jack, still chasing the perfect shot. "Always, Marco," Jack said with a grin. "And I think I just found it." Marco laughed, clapping him on the back. "Come, both of you. Let's get a drink and talk. There's a new collection I'm developing, and I could use insights from both a photographer and a supermodel." The trio moved to a quieter section of the station, where the bar overlooked the vastness of space. As they settled into their seats, drinks in hand, the conversation shifted from fashion to deeper topics. "So, Leary," Marco started, turning towards her with a curious expression, "what's it like being from Eridani? I've heard it's all about harmony and beauty." "It is," Leary agreed. "Our society values balance and aesthetic. Everything is art, from the way we build our homes to how we speak." "And what about you, Jack?" Marco asked. "Ever think about using your art to explore deeper themes? Maybe something about how all these different species can coexist so peacefully?" Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Actually, that's a great idea. Showing the unity here could inspire people back on Earth. Maybe we could collaborate on that, Leary. Use your time crystals to bring the concept to life." Leary considered his proposal, her gaze drifting towards the star-strewn view outside. "I think that could be very powerful. Combining our arts to show not just the fashion but the feeling of this place." Their drinks forgotten, the three delved into planning this new project. Ideas flowed freely, each suggestion sparking another, as they envisioned a collaborative work that might bridge worlds through the universal language of art and beauty. In that moment, a new partnership was formed, one that would transcend the mere capturing of images, aiming instead to capture the essence of interstellar harmony. The zero-G bar on the space station Elysium offered a breathtaking view of the cosmos, its large panoramic windows framing the infinite expanse of stars and nebulae. Jack and Leary floated gently to a secluded booth, their bodies adapting to the subtle artificial gravity designed to mimic a serene, floating experience. "So, Leary, you mentioned time crystals back at the fashion show. How did your people come to develop such technology?" Jack asked, genuinely curious as he ordered drinks from a floating service drone. Leary's eyes sparkled, reflecting the starlight. "It was a natural progression for us. Eridani has always had a deep connection to time and memory. Our scientists figured out how to harness these elements into something tangible. It revolutionized how we experience our past. Jack nodded, impressed. Humanity could learn a lot from that, focusing more on memory and less on material. As they sipped on their cosmic cocktails, a mix of Elysium's finest spirits with a hint of meteor dust, another figure approached their booth. It was Dr. Henry Tao, a renowned human physicist known for his work on space-time theories. Jack, Leary, mind if I join you? Henry asked with a warm smile. Please, have a seat. Henry, Jack invited, gesturing to the empty space beside them. Henry floated into the booth, ordering a drink before turning his attention to Leary. I heard a bit about your time crystals. There's a theory I've been working on that could actually be tested with such technology. Leary leaned in, intrigued. Oh, and what theory is that? Henry explained. I've been exploring the idea that memories might not just be reflections of the past, but could also influence our present, maybe even the future. If we could interact with these time crystals, it might provide empirical data for my research. Jack watched the exchange with interest. That sounds like a groundbreaking study. Henry, how can we help make it happen? Well, we would need to set up an experiment, a controlled environment where we can observe the effects of interacting with these memories. Henry outlined his plan. Leary was quick to respond. I could provide the time crystals, and perhaps, Jack, you could document the process? It could be a fascinating blend of science and art. I'd love to. Jack agreed enthusiastically. Capturing such an experiment could change how we understand time and memory. The conversation drifted to other topics as the night progressed. They discussed the cultural differences between human and Eridani societies, the challenges of interstellar travel, and the potential for future collaborations that might bridge the gap between science and art. As the station clock neared the end of the evening, Jack felt a profound sense of connection with his new friends. This has been an incredible conversation. I feel like we're on the brink of something amazing here. Henry nodded in agreement. It's rare to find such synergy across disciplines. We should definitely pursue this experiment. Leary smiled, her gaze lingering on the stars outside. And I think we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more we could explore together. With the cosmos wheeling silently beyond their window, the trio made plans to meet the next day in the research lab. Their project would not only merge their fields but also test the boundaries of what they knew about reality itself. As they parted ways, each felt the excitement of impending discovery, a feeling that promised not only new insights but potentially new realms of thought and creativity. The Gala of Galaxies, a highlight of the Interstellar Fashion Week, was held in the grand ballroom of the space station Elysium. The room was adorned with floating lights that mimicked the stars outside, casting a gentle luminescence over the attendees. Jack and Leary entered the gala together, the buzz of conversation growing as various species from across the universe mingled, their attire a dazzling array of cultural expressions. Jack, this is incredible, Leary whispered, taking in the scene with wide eyes. It's like a dance of galaxies here. Jack smiled, his camera already capturing the spectacle. It's the perfect place for inspiration. But tonight, I'm more interested in enjoying the event. You look stunning, by the way. Leary blushed, her skin shimmering slightly with her emotion. Thank you, Jack. Shall we? She extended her hand, leading him towards the center of the ballroom. As they danced, a figure approached them. It was Victor, a well-known art collector and patron of interspecies cultural initiatives. His eyes were fixed on Leary with an expression of admiration. Leary, radiant as always, Victor greeted, bowing slightly in her direction. And you must be Jack. I've heard much about your work. Jack extended a hand. Victor, right? It's a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure is mine, Victor replied, accepting his handshake. I was just discussing with a colleague the potential for art to bridge our cultural divides. Leary, with your unique background, and Jack, with your photographic expertise, you both embody this potential. Leary smiled warmly. That's exactly what we've been exploring. Jack and I, along with Dr. Henry Tao, are starting a project that combines Eridani time crystals and human artistic expression. Victor's interest was piqued. Fascinating. I would love to hear more. Perhaps there's a way my network could support your project. Let's arrange a meeting to discuss it further, Jack suggested, genuinely interested in the opportunity. We're looking at this not just as an experiment, but as a way to present a new form of art to the galaxy. As the music swelled, more guests joined their conversation, drawn by the innovative nature of their project. Among them was Michael, an engineer specializing in holographic displays, who offered technical insights into how they might enhance their project's visibility and interaction. Using advanced holography, we could create an exhibit where visitors not only see but also feel the memories stored in the time crystals, Michael proposed, his enthusiasm evident. That would truly be something special, Jack agreed, excited by the potential. It would allow people to experience history and emotion in a completely immersive way. The conversation flowed as freely as the drinks, with each new idea sparking another. The evening soon turned into an impromptu brainstorming session, with various experts contributing their knowledge and skills. As the gala drew to a close, Jack, Leary, and their new acquaintances exchanged contact information, all committed to exploring the possibilities they had discussed. They left the ballroom inspired and eager, under the starlit sky that seemed to promise unlimited potential. This night has been more than I could have hoped for, Leary confessed as they walked back to her quarters. Jack nodded in agreement. It's the beginning of something great, Leary. I can feel it. They shared a quiet moment, looking out at the stars, both aware that the next steps they took could change not just their lives, but potentially the cultural landscape of the universe. Leary led Jack through the corridors of the space station Elysium to a little-known section reserved for cultural exhibitions. Here, simulations of different planetary phenomena could be experienced firsthand. Today, she had arranged a private viewing for them. An Eridani sunrise, reputed to be one of the most beautiful sights in the galaxy. As they entered the simulation chamber, Jack was immediately struck by the realism of the environment. The room transformed before their eyes into a breathtaking landscape of Eridani, complete with a horizon that began to lighten slowly. It's beautiful, Jack murmured, watching as the first hints of light painted the sky in hues of deep purple and fiery orange. Leary smiled, watching his reaction closely. On Eridani, we believe each sunrise is the universe greeting us anew. It's a moment of renewal, of possibilities. Jack set up his camera, eager to capture the ethereal beauty of the scene, but then hesitated, looking back at Leary. I want to make sure I'm here in this moment with you, not just behind the lens. Setting the camera aside, he joined her in watching the simulated sunrise. As the light spread across the sky, bathing the room in a warm glow, Leary reached out to take his hand. This is how I want you to see Eridani for the first time, she said softly. Through an experience, not just an image. Their conversation drifted naturally from the simulation to deeper topics, dreams, fears, and the intricacies of human and Eridani emotions. I've always wondered how emotions translate across different species, Jack confessed. Do you feel things the same way humans do? In some ways, yes, but in others, perhaps not, Leary replied thoughtfully. Our emotions are more intertwined with our environment. The sunrise, for example, it doesn't just bring light. It alters our emotional landscape. Jack pondered her words, fascinated by the concept. That's incredible. It makes me think about how much our surroundings shape us on Earth, too, but maybe we're just not as aware of it. Their discussion was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Henry Tao, who had promised to meet them. I hope I'm not intruding, Henry said with a grin, but I couldn't miss seeing this famous Eridani sunrise. Not at all, Henry, Leary welcomed him. Jack was just sharing his thoughts on emotions and environment. Henry looked between them, an idea forming. You know, this could be an interesting angle for our project. How environments influence emotional responses across species. We could use the time crystals to capture these reactions in different settings. Jack liked the suggestion. It could be a series, Emotions Across the Universe. We could document how different species experience and react to similar environments. Excited by the collaborative potential, they spent the next hour discussing logistics, potential research subjects, and the artistic direction of the project. As the simulated sunrise peaked, casting the room in a brilliant light, Jack felt a surge of inspiration. Let's document this moment, he said, picking up his camera again. This is the start of something new. Leary and Henry positioned themselves as part of the scene, their silhouettes against the brightening sky. Jack captured the moment, knowing this photo would symbolize the beginning of their ambitious project. As the light began to fade, signaling the end of the simulation, the three of them left the chamber, each lost in thoughts about the future. They had started the day as colleagues, but were now partners in a groundbreaking endeavor that might just bring their diverse cultures closer together. After the inspiring experience of the simulated Eridani sunrise, Jack, Leary, and Dr. Henry Tao met in Elysium's serene botanical garden to further discuss the implications of their newly formed project. The garden, a lush oasis amidst the steel and glass of the space station, provided a fitting backdrop for their conversation about environmental and emotional interconnections. Henry initiated the discussion as they walked along a path lined with exotic plants from various planets. The experiment we're envisioning could fundamentally alter our understanding of emotional cognition across species. It's both a scientific and an artistic endeavor. Jack nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. Imagine if we could visually and emotionally convey the essence of an Eridani sunrise to someone who's never left Earth. That's the power of what we're creating. Leary, thoughtful, added. It's also a way to explore and document the universality and variability of emotions. We need to think about how we'll present these findings. The visual aspect will be crucial. As they discussed, another figure approached them. It was Carlos, a botanist and environmental scientist known for his work on adaptive ecosystems. He was intrigued by their conversation and was quick to see the connection to his own work. "Are you talking about environmental impact on emotional health?" Carlos asked, joining the trio. Because if so, there's a wealth of data suggesting that plants and natural settings have a profound effect on well-being across many species. That's exactly the kind of interdisciplinary approach we're looking for, Henry responded, clearly pleased with the chance encounter. Carlos, your expertise could help us design controlled environments for our experiments. Carlos was enthusiastic. I'd love to contribute. We could start with a series of environments that range from natural landscapes to more urban settings. We can observe the emotional responses of different species in each setting using the time crystals. Jack, always looking for the human angle, suggested, we should also document these experiments with video and still photography, not just as scientific evidence, but as a way to create an emotional narrative that viewers can connect with. Leary nodded in agreement. It will be essential to capture not just the factual data, but also the stories behind the subjects involved in the study. We want to engage our audience on a deeper level. As they continued their walk, the group discussed potential funding sources for their project, outreach strategies, and the technical challenges of integrating time crystal technology with Carlos's environmental simulations. We should present this idea at the upcoming Intergalactic Science and Art Symposium, Henry suggested. It's the perfect venue to gather support and collaborate with other experts. Agreed, said Carlos. And I can help set up a preliminary study in one of the station's biodomes. It's a controlled environment where we can easily manipulate variables. The conversation turned to logistics and planning, each member of the group contributing their unique perspective and expertise. They ended their meeting with a commitment to reconvene in the biodome to start their preliminary studies. As they parted ways, Jack felt a surge of creativity and purpose. He turned to Leary, saying, "This project could change how we see the universe and each other." Leary smiled, her eyes reflecting the lush greenery around them. "And it started with a sunrise. Let's see how far we can go." Together, they walked back through the botanical garden, their conversation drifting to the details of their next meeting, each step taking them closer to understanding the complex interplay of environment, emotion, and expression. As their project progressed, Jack, Leary, and their expanding team spent increasingly more time in the biodome, observing and recording emotional responses to various environmental settings. One particular morning, after concluding a session in a simulated rainforest environment, Leary pulled Jack aside for a private conversation near a serene artificial waterfall. Jack noticed the seriousness in her demeanor. "What's on your mind, Leary?" Taking a deep breath, Leary turned to face him, her expression a mixture of joy and apprehension. "Jack, I have something important to tell you." and I'm not sure how to say it. Jack's heart raced, sensing the gravity of the moment. Anything, Leary. You can tell me. She smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. Jack, you got me pregnant. I'm going to have a child. Jack stared in stunned silence for a moment, processing her words. Then, his surprise gave way to a cautious happiness. Leary, are you sure? I mean, how? We're from different worlds. Yes, it's quite rare, but not unheard of, Leary explained, her voice calm yet excited. Eridani physiology is adaptable, and it seems we're compatible. It's considered a blessing, a sign of profound connection between beings. Jack took her hands in his, overwhelmed with a mix of emotions. A child? Leary, this is incredible. I'm here for you, for both of you. Leary squeezed his hands, her relief visible. I'm glad to hear you say that. I was worried about your reaction. Don't worry. We'll figure this out together, Jack assured her, his mind already racing with thoughts of the future. They decided to share the news with Henry and Carlos, who had become close confidants through their project. Later that day, they gathered in a quiet corner of the station's cafeteria. Jack started the conversation. Henry, Carlos, Leary and I have some personal news to share. Henry looked up, curiosity piqued. Sounds serious. What's going on? Leary took a deep breath, then announced, I'm pregnant, and Jack is the father. Carlos's eyes widened in surprise, while Henry broke into a broad grin. That's extraordinary. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you, Jack said, smiling. We wanted to tell you because you're both important parts of our lives now. And this changes a lot. Henry nodded thoughtfully. It does, indeed. But it's a positive development. This could also add a fascinating layer to our project about emotional connections across species. Carlos agreed, his scientific mind already turning over the possibilities. Absolutely. This is real-life proof of interspecies relationships not just existing but thriving. Leary, relieved by their support, suggested, I think this could be an opportunity to expand our research. Perhaps studying the emotional development of mixed-species children could be an offshoot of our current work. Jack liked the idea. It's a perfect blend of the personal and the professional. We're living the very phenomenon we're studying. As the group discussed potential research directions and personal preparations for the child, they agreed to keep the news within their circle for the time being, planning carefully how to proceed both with Leary's pregnancy and their ongoing projects. The meeting ended on a high note, with everyone expressing their excitement and offering their support. Jack and Leary left the cafeteria hand in hand, their steps light with the weight of their shared future. Whatever comes next, we're in this together, Jack said, squeezing Leary's hand. Yes, together, Leary echoed, her face alight with a hopeful smile as they walked back to continue their day's work, united in their personal and professional journeys. The news of Leary's pregnancy introduced a new dimension to their work and lives. As Jack and Leary navigated the implications of their impending parenthood, they also began preparations for her to join Jack on Earth. The day before her departure from Elysium, they met with Henry and Carlos at the research lab to discuss transitioning their project and the implications of their findings to Earth. Henry greeted them with a stack of data pads. I've compiled all our research and findings here. We'll need to set up a similar environment on Earth to continue our studies seamlessly. Carlos added, I've contacted a few colleagues at the Earthside Botanical Gardens and research facilities. They're excited about our project and eager to assist in setting up the simulations. Jack, reviewing the data pads, acknowledged the efforts. Thanks, both of you. This wouldn't be possible without your help. Leary, how are you feeling about all this? Leary, whose demeanor had been a blend of excitement and nervousness, smiled. I am ready, Jack. It will be a big change, but with you and our friends here, I feel we can handle anything. As for the project, Henry interjected, I think the addition of your child's development into our research will be groundbreaking. We're not just crossing scientific boundaries, but also making history here. Carlos nodded in agreement. Yes, and documenting the transition and integration into a new world will add rich layers to our findings. Jack looked at Leary, seeking her consent. Are you sure you're comfortable with this level of attention? It's not just our lives anymore. Leary squeezed his hand, reassuring him. I understand the importance of our work, Jack. It's bigger than us now. I'm ready to share our journey if it can help foster understanding and collaboration across species. Henry, sensing the emotional weight of the moment, changed the subject. Let's go over the logistics for tomorrow. Leary's arrival on Earth will need to be smooth to ensure she's comfortable. The group spent the next few hours discussing travel arrangements, medical care for Leary, and the initial steps to establish their project on Earth. They mapped out a detailed plan, assigning roles and responsibilities to ensure everything was covered. As the meeting concluded, Carlos pulled Jack aside. You know, this is going to be one heck of a story to tell your kid one day. Jack laughed, the tension easing from his shoulders. From space station to Earthside Gardens. It's not the typical how your parents met story, that's for sure. The next day, at Elysium's departure bay, Jack and Leary stood together, bags packed, ready to embark on their journey to Earth. Henry and Carlos were there to see them off, promising to follow soon after to help set up the new phase of their project. Take care of each other, Henry advised, giving Jack a firm handshake followed by a hug for Leary. Carlos handed Jack a small device. This is a portable data terminal with all our project data and some additional environmental control programs. It'll help you get started on Earth. Leary embraced both Henry and Carlos. Thank you for everything. We'll be waiting for your arrival. As the boarding call echoed through the bay, Jack and Leary shared a look of anticipation and a bit of apprehension. Hand in hand, they walked towards the shuttle that would take them to Earth, their hearts full of hope for the future. Watching the shuttle depart, Henry turned to Carlos. Those two are going to be just fine. Carlos nodded, smiling. Yeah, they're starting a new chapter on Earth, but also for all of us. This is just the beginning. The shuttle touched down gently on Earth, marking the start of a new chapter for Jack and Leary. As they stepped onto the tarmac, they were greeted not just by a crowd of curious onlookers and media, but also by a welcoming committee that included representatives from various scientific communities and cultural integration groups. The air was filled with a mix of excitement and a bit of tension, as this was a momentous occasion, the arrival of an Eridani on Earth under such unique circumstances. Jack, holding Leary's hand tightly, leaned over and whispered, "Ready for this?" Leary nodded, her eyes wide but resolute. "As I'll ever be." Dr. Emily Stanton, a leader in human-alien relations, stepped forward with a warm smile. "Welcome to Earth, Leary. We are thrilled to have you here and look forward to the insights and advancements your presence will surely bring." "Thank you, Dr. Stanton. I am eager to learn and hopefully contribute," Leary responded, her voice steady despite the overwhelming scenario. The group moved from the landing area to a nearby conference center, where a small reception had been arranged. There, Jack and Leary were introduced to various teams that would be collaborating with them. Among the crowd was Dr. Alex Reed, a renowned biologist who had been assigned to help monitor Leary's health during her stay on Earth. "Leary, I'm Alex. I'll be working closely with you to ensure that your health needs are fully met here on Earth. We've prepared a state-of-the-art medical suite for you," Alex explained, offering a reassuring smile. "Thank you, Dr. Reed. I appreciate your care," Leary replied, feeling a bit relieved knowing she had dedicated support. Jack, meanwhile, was discussing the continuation of their project with a group of environmental scientists and documentarians. "We've brought over data and samples from our studies at Elysium. We're hoping to replicate some of our environments here to continue our work," he explained. One of the documentarians, a young man named Lucas, was particularly interested in the narrative aspect. "Jack, capturing this journey, Leary's adaptation to Earth, the birth and growth of your child, the scientific work, could be incredibly impactful. It's a story about unity, discovery, and the blending of worlds." Jack nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. We want to show that this is more than an experiment. It's our life, and it has the potential to change perceptions and understandings across species." As the reception wound down, Jack and Leary were taken to their new home, a specially adapted residence that catered to both human and Eridani needs. It was there, looking out over a serene Earth landscape, that they finally had a moment to reflect on everything that had happened. Leary, watching the sunset, spoke softly, "Jack, do you think Earth will ever feel like home to me?" Jack wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "I think it will, in time. Home is more about who you're with than where you are. And you're not alone." Leary smiled, leaning into his embrace. "I never imagined life would bring me here, to this moment with you." The next few weeks were a flurry of activities, setting up the new research facilities, attending cultural integration sessions, and preparing for the baby. Throughout it all, Jack and Leary worked closely with their Earth-based team, sharing their experiences and findings, always learning, always adapting. As Leary's due date approached, the excitement and nervousness grew. The world watched as this unique family navigated the complexities of their situation, becoming a symbol of interstellar partnership and the endless possibilities of shared futures. And so, under the watchful eyes of a hopeful world, a new life began. A child of two worlds, born on Earth, raised in the light of both human and Eridani cultures, a living testament to the unity and love that had brought them all together. Their story, shared across galaxies, was not just about the scientific or the sensational, but about the simple, profound connections that define the spirit of exploration and acceptance, a fitting end to a journey that had started with a chance meeting under the stars.